What if I told you that the crafting and base building systems coming to Star Citizen are about to change the game forever? I'm not just talking about some flashy new features or some minor gameplay additions. These two systems will redefine how we play, what we build, and even how the entire player-driven economy functions. With the latest updates revealed at CitizenCon, it's clear that these mechanics are going to push Star Citizen to new heights. And to be honest, it's way beyond what I imagined. So today we're going to break it all down, what I got right, what I got wrong, and how this will completely reshape the Star Citizen universe forever. Let's start with the tough part, what I got wrong. We're all speculating in a game as massive as Star Citizen, and sometimes our predictions don't quite line up with reality. Now, this isn't just about admitting mistakes. It's about recognizing the depth and complexity of a game that's constantly evolving. First, I was off about how crafting mechanics would work. Originally, I thought crafting would involve more dynamic and random elements, where you could combine different materials to create unique, often unpredictable items with varying bonuses. I envisioned players being able to create custom mods or bonuses by experimenting with different ingredients and crafting techniques, adding a bit of chaos and creativity to the process. It seemed like Star Citizen was heading toward a system that rewarded experimentation and risk-taking, where you'd never quite know what kind of item you'd end up with. But as it turns out, material quality plays a far more central role than I initially thought. Instead of a system where you layer on bonuses or mods, crafting in Star Citizen revolves around using the best quality materials to directly affect item stats. So rather than unpredictable results, the outcome of your crafting efforts will be determined by how high the quality of the material is, and how well you've refined those materials. This creates a more controlled and predictable system, where the key to success is finding and refining the highest quality resources you can get your hands on. Your skill as a crafter is less about chance and more about preparation, resource management, and making the right strategic decisions. Now, it's entirely possible that CIG may still add some elements of randomness or customization to crafting, especially in the subcomponents and materials. But for now, we're looking at a system that rewards precision and high-quality inputs. After all, there's always room for additional depth as the systems continue to evolve, and who knows, CIG might surprise us. Another area where my predictions didn't quite hit the mark is with base defense. I had imagined that all player bases, regardless of location, would need to be self-sustaining in terms of defense. In my mind, I pictured bases needing heavy-duty turrets, shield generators, and player-made fleets to protect them from constant attacks. And in the most hostile zones, I expected them to be extremely vulnerable to full-on destruction from enemy players or NPCs. I imagined that bases, especially in lawless areas, would be incredibly risky to maintain, with the constant threat of orbital bombardments or surprise attacks. It seemed logical that in a game world as dangerous as Star Citizen's lawless zones, keeping a base secure would require constant vigilance, military power, and significant resources. But as CIG revealed, base defense is far more tactical and structured. While bases won't have the protection of planetary shields or UE patrols in lawless zones, they won't be sitting ducks for a single bombing run either. Instead, players will need to engage in ground-based assaults to disable a base's defenses. This means attackers can't simply rely on overwhelming firepower from the skies. They'll have to get boots on the ground, infiltrate the base, and disable shield generators from within. But we'll get into more on that later. Star Citizen is an ever-evolving universe, and we know that CIG likes to build on player feedback and ideas. So there's always room for my initial speculations to become reality down the road. After all, we've seen Star Citizen change dramatically over time, and it's far from done growing. Now, on to the good stuff, because I did manage to get quite a few things right. Now, these weren't wild guesses, but rather educated predictions based on years of following the project and analyzing the direction CIG was heading. So let's dive into what I got right. What we learned at CitizenCon is that the process of gathering, refining, and crafting will be a critical gameplay loop. Miners will extract raw materials, which will then be transported to refineries for processing. After refining, those materials will be used in crafting everything from weapons to ships and even the structures for your base. It's a full cycle that makes complete sense, and I'm glad to see that this gameplay loop is coming together in a logical, interconnected way. Now, it was clear at last year's CitizenCon that ships would eventually be craftable by players, but there were still some doubts in the community. Even though CIG hinted at it, some players weren't sure if ship crafting would become a reality. However, I was confident that ship crafting was on the horizon, especially given the importance of player-driven economies in Star Citizen. And now we know for certain, ship crafting is coming and it's going to be a massive undertaking. Crafting ships will require large-scale operations, advanced blueprints, and rare, high-quality materials. It won't be a quick or easy process, but the fact that players will be able to build their own ships from the ground up is absolutely game-changing. This ties directly into the concept of a player-driven economy. For a long time, we've heard CIG talk about how players will have the ability to influence and drive the in-game economy, but it was still somewhat speculative of how deep that influence went. Now, it's confirmed that players will be able to craft and sell their items, whether it's rare blueprints, high-quality weapons, armor, or even ships, creating a dynamic economy. The quality of the materials that you use in crafting will directly affect the stats and value of the item that you produce, meaning players who specialize in gathering resources will have a huge role in driving the economy. Speaking of material quality, this is another prediction I got right. I had speculated that the quality of materials that you gather would play a huge role in crafting outcomes. And now we know for sure, material quality directly influences the stats of the final product. Whether you're crafting a ship component or a weapon, the better your materials are, the better the performance of that item. This will create a massive incentive for players to explore, mine, and refine the best resources available. Traders, miners, and crafters will have an important role in the economy, supplying rare materials to those who need them for crafting high-end gear and ships. Lastly, I have to mention something that felt like a lucky guess but ended up being spot on. In a recent video, I talked about player decoration and customization, specifically the idea that players should be able to lock down items they place in their bases or ships. And wouldn't you know it, CIG introduced decorative AR mode with a feature they're calling mag locking. This allows players to lock items in place, preventing them from being moved or stolen. This was pretty much the same as my grid locking idea. I'd like to think that this was a logical solution to an issue a lot of players have been thinking about. But there's always a chance CIG has been listening to feedback from the community. Either way, I'm thrilled that this feature made it into the game, and I can't wait to see how players use it to personalize their spaces. So if you've been enjoying this breakdown and want to stay up to date on all things Star Citizen, be sure to hit that subscribe button. There's plenty more to come as we dive deeper into these game-changing systems, and you won't want to miss a single update. Now that we've talked about what I got wrong and right, let's dive into how crafting will actually work in Star Citizen. Based on the detailed information from CitizenCon, it's clear that crafting will be a complex, highly detailed profession with a lot of player choice and strategic decision-making involved. At its core, crafting begins with blueprints. These are your recipes for creating everything from small personal gear to massive ships. Blueprints can be purchased, earned through missions, unlocked through reputation, or even found through exploration and looting. The great news is that once you've acquired a blueprint, it's permanently added to your personal library. You won't lose it, and it can't be stolen, which gives players a sense of long-term progression. One of the standout features of the crafting system is blueprint research. Every blueprint starts at a base level, but through research, players can unlock higher tiers of the blueprint. For personal gear and ship components, there are tiers 1 through 3, while ships themselves can be upgraded all the way to tier 5. Each tier represents a significant improvement in performance and stats. Crafting a higher tier item or vehicle means better durability, more specialized stats, or enhanced performance in specific areas. Researching blueprints won't be instant, and it will take time and resources, and players will need to manage their research projects carefully. You'll be limited on how many projects you can work on at once, which adds a layer of strategy to the system. Deciding which blueprints to upgrade and when to focus on research will be crucial to becoming a successful crafter. Materials play a vital role in crafting. Mining is still the foundation of resource gathering, but CIG is expanding it to include new types of materials that will only be accessible through specialized gathering methods. For example, hand mining, vehicle mining, and ship mining will yield different materials. This specialization means crafters will need to engage with various gathering professions or rely on the efforts of other players to obtain the resources they need. The quality of these materials is where things get really interesting. Now, this does mean that hand mining and vehicle mining will finally be unique and give players a reason to go out and do them. Now, the quality of these materials is where things get really interesting. Every material you gather will have a quality rating, which directly impacts the performance of the item you craft. For example, high-quality alloys will result in stronger ship components or more durable weapons. Lower quality materials, on the other hand, will produce items with less impressive stats. This adds a strategic element to crafting. Do you use rare materials for a better item, or settle for low-quality resources to produce something quickly? Now, refining is another critical part of the crafting process. Raw materials need to be refined into processed materials before they can be used in crafting high-tier items. Refining will require blueprints, and the quality of the primary material you refine will determine the quality of the final product. You'll also be able to use secondary materials and optional catalysts to increase efficiency, reduce processing time, or boost the quality of the material that you produce. Once you have your refined materials and your blueprints ready, crafting will be done through specialized machines. For smaller items like personal gear, you might use a personal fabricator. For larger items such as ships, you'll need to access massive vehicle crafting stations that can only be found in bases or specialized locations. These fabricators will also come in tiers, with higher tier machines offering better results, faster processing times, and the ability to craft more complex items. Just like crafting, base building is set to fundamentally reshape the verse. While crafting focuses on creating items and equipment, base building is all about establishing a home on the surface of planets and moons. And much like crafting, there are numerous player-driven choices that will determine how your base functions and what purpose it serves. It all starts with the Construction GravCard, a versatile tool that enables players to construct structures and survey potential locations. You'll kick off your base building journey by finding an ideal spot to settle down, be it in a lawless system where you'll need to purchase a land claim, or in a lawless area like Pyro, while ensuring that the ground is suitable for your new structures. Once you've claimed your land, the GravCart will allow you to survey the area with augmented reality. This mode provides a bird's eye view of the terrain, helping you identify the best spots for construction while ensuring the ground is suitable for your new structures. Actually, funny story. Imagine staring at a presentation slide, writing the script, reading it, recording the video, and still not realizing the name of the item is right in front of you until after you finish recording. I felt a bit dumb calling it a craft cart the whole time when the name was right in front of me. So anyway, once you've surveyed the land and found the perfect spot to establish your base, you'll begin with small, basic structures. At first, these could be simple outposts, perhaps a habitat module, a storage building, or a small refinery to process materials. But as you progress, you'll be able to expand your base by constructing larger, more advanced buildings. Much like with crafting, base building operates on a tiered system, where higher tier buildings offer improved functionality, better durability, and more resource efficiency. This means that as your base grows, you'll be making critical decisions about how to expand it strategically. For example, you might choose to upgrade your base's power generators to more advanced versions, like fusion reactors or geothermal energy stations, allowing you to produce more energy while reducing upkeep costs. Or you could invest in building larger storage facilities to hold more resources, enabling your base to operate more smoothly even when you're offline or on away missions. Power generation and resource management will be central to base operations. Every building requires power, and you'll need to ensure that your base has an adequate energy supply to keep everything running smoothly. Whether it's fuel power generators, solar panels, or advanced fusion reactors, each energy source has its pros and cons. Fuel-powered generators are reliable but require constant refueling, while solar panels are environmentally friendly but unreliable in dark or stormy environments. Players will need to think carefully about how to balance their energy needs with the resources available to them. Beyond energy, the entire base will be interconnected through a resource network. This network will manage everything from power distribution to the transportation of materials, allowing you to efficiently move resources between buildings and keep your operations running. Freight elevators will play a key role in this system, enabling you to transport large amounts of cargo between different sections of your base, or even to other bases in the region. These elevators will be especially important for larger bases with multiple facilities, allowing you to streamline your operations and avoid wasting time manually moving resources. As your base expands, you'll have access to various vehicles that will help you scale your operations. Early on, you might rely on small construction vehicles like the Argo CSV-FM to build medium-sized structures. But as your ambitions grow, you'll need to upgrade to larger, more powerful vehicles. The RSI Galaxy will be a workhorse, handling everything from small modules to larger structures. But if you really want to go big, the Pioneer will be the ultimate tool for constructing entire base complexes. The Pioneer will allow you to build everything from small outposts to sprawling, extra-large bases, with a focus on efficiency and scale. This tiered approach to base building means that no two bases will be the same. Whether you're building a small, efficient outpost or a massive industrial complex, the choices you make in terms of buildings, power sources, and infrastructure will have a direct impact on how your base functions. There's also a strong emphasis on collaboration, working with other players or organizations to pool resources and build something even larger and more complex. This opens up opportunities for large-scale base building projects, where players have to combine their efforts to create entire cities, trading hubs, or military outposts. One of the most exciting aspects of base building is that it's not just about having a place to live or store your ships. Bases can also become production hubs where players can craft items, vehicles, and even entire ships. With the right fabricators and crafting machines in place, your base can become a key part of the Star Citizen economy, producing high-quality goods that can be traded or sold to players or NPCs. Much like crafting machines, base fabricators come in different tiers, with higher tier fabricators allowing you to produce more advanced, higher quality items. For example, a low tier fabricator might only allow you to craft basic weapons or small vehicles, while a top tier fabricator will let you produce large ships, advanced weaponry, and even specialized gear like high-end armor or medical equipment. As your base evolves, you'll have the opportunity to upgrade your fabricators, improving their efficiency, speed, and the quality of the items they produce. This ties directly into the crafting economy. Players who invest in base building will have the opportunity to specialize in certain areas of production, whether that's crafting high-end ships, rare weapons, or unique items that can't be found anywhere else. By becoming a specialist in a certain type of crafting, you can attract other players to your base, creating a thriving economy around your production capabilities. Imagine running a base that's known for crafting the best ship components in the verse. Players from all over will seek out your services, offering trade deals, rare materials, or even contracts to produce custom items. Bases will also allow players to produce essential items for their own operations. For example, a base with a medical facility will be able to produce medical supplies, healing items, and even specialized medical gear. This means that organizations or solo players can become self-sufficient, crafting everything they need to survive and thrive in the verse without relying on NPC vendors or other players. Base defense is another critical aspect of base building, especially for those players operating in low security or lawless zones. In these areas, players will need to defend their bases from potential attacks, whether they come from other players or NPC factions. This isn't just about building a base and walking away. Maintaining a base in dangerous areas will require constant vigilance, tactical planning, and the ability to respond to threats. As mentioned earlier, CIG has implemented a more tactical approach to base defense. While bases won't be invulnerable in lawless zones, they also won't be destroyed by a single bombing run or orbital strike. Instead, attackers will need to engage in ground-based assaults, infiltrating the base and disabling key defensive systems like shield generators before they can claim victory. This gives defenders time to respond, making base defense more about strategy and coordination than sheer firepower. Defenders will have access to a wide variety of defensive tools, including anti-personnel turrets, anti-vehicle turrets, shield generators, and more. These systems can be placed strategically around the base to create choke points, defend critical infrastructure, or protect vulnerable areas from attacks. The key to a successful defense will be planning. Players will need to think carefully about where to place their defenses, how to balance offense and defense, and how to coordinate with other players to repel attackers. The ability to defend your base also adds a new layer of player versus player combat in Star Citizen. Attacks on bases will likely lead to coordinated battles between organizations, where attackers and defenders both need to plan their strategies carefully. Ground-based combat will play a major role, with infantry, vehicles, and even dropships being used to assault or defend bases. This opens up some truly exciting possibilities for large-scale battles, where dozens of players coordinate to either take down or defend a heavily fortified base. Now that we've covered how crafting and base building work, it's time to look at the big picture. How will these systems change Star Citizen forever? First, crafting will fundamentally alter how players acquire gear and equipment. Right now, most items are purchased from NPC shops, but once crafting is fully implemented, players will have the option to create their own gear tailored to their specific needs. This means no two items will be exactly the same. One player's gun might have better durability due to the materials they used, while another might fire faster. This level of customization will make the game feel more personal and immersive, as players will be able to equip themselves with gear that they had a direct hand in creating. Moreover, crafting will give rise to a player-driven economy, unlike anything that we've seen in Star Citizen so far. Players will become specialists in certain areas, whether it's crafting high-end ships, rare weapons, or unique vehicles. This specialization will create a demand for materials and blueprints, as players seek out the best crafters in the verse to provide them with the gear that they need. Over time, this economy will become a central part of the game, with players trading and bartering for the best crafted goods. Base building will similarly transform the verse by allowing players to create permanent homes and production hubs. No longer will players be limited to landing zones or space stations. Now they'll be able to establish bases that serve as central hubs for crafting, trading, and resource gathering. These bases will become community centers where players can gather, trade, and work together to build something lasting in the verse. And with the ability to craft entire ships at your base, Star Citizen will truly become a game where the players shape the universe. As we look ahead to the future of Star Citizen, I can't help but feel a mix of excitement and cautious optimism about the upcoming crafting and base building systems. After all, these features represent some of the most anticipated gameplay mechanics in the history of this ambitious project. While I previously speculated on various aspects of crafting and base building, hearing CIG's definitive plans has given me a clearer picture of what to expect. Crafting in particular stands to redefine how we interact with the game. The ability to create personalized gear and items introduces a level of engagement that many players crave. It's no longer just about obtaining equipment through shops or loot drops. Now players will have the opportunity to craft their weapons and armor, allowing for customization that aligns with their playstyles. The notion that crafted items can outperform standard store-bought gear is a thrilling prospect, as it encourages players to invest time and effort into the crafting process. Base building is another exciting addition that has the potential to shift the gameplay dynamics dramatically. Establishing a personal or organizational base means that you're no longer just a transient traveler in the verse. Instead, you can create a home, a hub for your operations, and a space to gather with your friends or fellow players. This could lead to a richer, more immersive gameplay experience where collaboration and community become essential. However, it's important to remember that while these features are groundbreaking, they also come with their own set of challenges. Balancing crafting and base building within the Star Sim economy will be crucial. If too many players begin crafting high-tier items, we could see inflation or devaluation of crafted goods in the player market. The developers will need to implement measures to ensure that the player-driven economy remains robust and engaging. Moreover, there's the question of accessibility. Not every player may be interested in crafting or base building, and that's perfectly fine. The key will be to make these features complementary to the broader gameplay experience rather than mandatory. Players who prefer combat or trading should still find ample opportunities to thrive in the universe without feeling pressured to engage in crafting or base building. Crafting and base building are set to revolutionize Star Citizen, introducing layers of complexity and engagement that will elevate the gameplay experience. While I may have misjudged some aspects during my initial speculations, it's clear that CIG has ambitious projects that could transform the game into a thriving, player-driven universe. The introduction of crafting will not only give players the tools to create personalized gear, but will also foster a dynamic economy fueled by player choices. Base building, on the other hand, allows players to carve out their own spaces in the verse, turning planets and moons into central hubs of a vibrant community. The fact that players can establish bases that serve as production hubs for crafting means that we will likely see a new way of player interactions and collaborations. As we get closer to the rollout of these features, I'm looking forward to seeing how CIG addresses the challenges that come with them. It's a thrilling time to be part of the Star Citizen community, and I can't wait to see how crafting and base building will shape our experiences in this ever-evolving universe. If you're as excited as I am about the potential of crafting and base building, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What are you most excited about? How do you plan to use these systems in your gameplay? Drop a comment below and let's start a conversation. And don't forget, we're running an exciting giveaway right now. We're giving away 2 Drake Cutter packages to 2 lucky subscribers. So if you want to know more and have a chance to win some awesome prizes, check out the link in the description for all the details on how to enter. If you want to support the channel and dive deeper into Star Citizen, consider becoming a channel member. You'll get exclusive access to members-only content, loyalty badges, and priority replies in the comments. And if you want even more on the future of base building, tune in later this week when we discuss player-owned space stations and how they'll further expand your org's empire and offer you even more valuable crafting options. Fly safe, pilots, and I'll see you in the verse. Havoc out.